Hey guys! Today we are kind of changing gears and we're going to be talking finally about Canadian history more in depth. So first I'm going to talk about the people who were here before Europeans arrived. So I'm going to talk about the two major groups. The first of which is the Iroquois speakers. So you can see there's a map of where they lived, so mostly along the St. Lawrence here into the Great Lakes, and then actually a little bit down into America, but it doesn't really concern us. So in this, I'm going to kind of go back and forth between how we call these groups and how they call themselves. So the Wendat, or the Huron, and the Haudenosaunee, or the Iroquois nations. These are two groups that spoke Iroquois languages. They were what you can call the gatekeepers to the interior. So when people were coming from Europe, they're kind of coming in this direction here. And if you wanted to go inland Canada, the easiest way would be to follow the major rivers, because you wouldn't want to like park here and then walk, because there's no roads. So you would bring your ship in here and you'd come down the St. Lawrence, and these are the people who are living here, so they're the people who are going to tell you what kind of the lay of the land is going to be. They lived in villages and they farmed the land. They were what's called a matrilineal society, so basically women were in charge and leadership went down through your mother's line. So women in these cultures decided a lot of different parts of life. And they were governed by a grand council similar to our parliament. They had representatives and things like that. The Algonquin speakers were the other major group that was in Canada at the time that the first explorers really interacted with a lot. So you can see they didn't live along the upper St. Lawrence, but they did live kind of everywhere else that the explorers would be looking at. That includes the Cree, the Micmac, Ojibwa nations. These are all people who spoke languages that were related to each other. So these guys were mostly fishermen, hunters. They did some gathering. They did smaller scale farming, so not as much as the Iroquois speaking people, and they had smaller villages. These guys were a patrilineal society and organized into clans. So patrilineal meaning power goes through the father's line. And that's a little bit more like what the Europeans would be used to. Oops. This is just an interesting map of the different groups of people that live in BC. I just put this up here to show you what the boundaries would be like between different nations. So you can see they're quite fuzzy. In European cultures, those borders would be quite hard. So here's where one group is, here's where the other is, and in between, like, there's a definite stop. I think that's actually gonna be it for this video. Thanks, guys.